Welcome to the Rudick Report. Today is January 25th, 2023. This story comes out of usawatchdog.com, where Greg Hunter reports that precious metals expert and financial writer Bill Holter said last summer that the Fed rate increases would tank the economy. Everywhere you look, you see the economy falling apart. House prices and sales are down, banks are clocking record losses, vehicle prices are falling, and unemployment is rising. The economy hasn't completely crashed, but it will, Holter explains. There are over 2,000 trillion worth of derivatives outstanding on the global economy. That is maybe a little more than 500 trillion in asset values. So you have a dog walking around with a gigantic tail that will shake the dog. When derivatives go, it's a 48-hour event. And who do you think holds all these derivatives? You've got the big banks, all the big brokers, all the big insurance companies, and they're all going to go down. It's like one giant financial STD, and everybody's in bed together, and everybody's infected. Add to this the announcement from Saudi Arabia that it will now accept payment in currencies other than the US dollar, and you have the makings of a destabilizing hyperinflationary catastrophe for America. Holter says there will be other Arab nations to follow, and that is a huge hit to the artificial demand for the dollar. You had nations all over the world who were forced to buy dollars to buy oil, but that is going away. Going one step further, these nations who have stockpiled huge dollar portfolios are no longer required to use dollars. And what do you think is going to happen to them? Those dollars are going to come back to the US, and that will be a hugely inflationary event. It will add many multiples to the dollar pie, and it will dilute its value. So what's the Fed going to do? Holter says the Fed is in a box. They will have to make a choice to save the dollar or save the financial system. They can't save everything. Something has to break. I've said this for years, that there are already losses out there, but somebody has to own up to them. Nobody has had to take the losses because everything has been papered over for so many years, where losses were just kicked down the road, but there's no more road left. Holter goes on to say, the best way to sum it up is that the facade that we have lived our lives through is ending and will completely end. The reality is going to blow people's minds. That will be a depopulation event because people will be starving. The Fed has always feared a deflationary collapse where it cannot inflate the system. Credit is the foundation of the whole system. If credit cracks and collapses, it means the foundation collapses and thus the entire house. And you might be saying, hey, deflation is great. Prices fall and everything becomes more affordable. And for those who have prepared for this event, deflation will present many opportunities, but for most, that will not be the case. Deflation is a decrease in the general price level of goods and services. This means that the cost of goods and services decreases over time, resulting in an increase in the purchasing power of money. It is generally considered to be negative for an economy because it can lead to a decrease in demand and a decrease in economic activity. During a deflationary cycle, the economy experiences a decrease in demand, which can lead to a decrease in production and employment. As businesses reduce their output and lay off workers, the unemployment rate increases. This decrease in demand can lead to a decrease in prices, which can further decrease demand and create a downward spiral. Additionally, deflation can make it more difficult for businesses and individuals to repay their debts, as the value of their asset decreases while the value of their liabilities remains the same. This can lead to increased defaults and bankruptcies. So unless you have been preparing for this type of event, it is unlikely that a deflationary cycle would help the average person. If everything is collapsing in price, what happens to gold and silver prices? Holter says gold and silver are the only real money on the planet that cannot or will not default. Holter likes them both and adds, silver is the most undervalued asset out there right now. Take a moment and look around at the economy out there. The housing market is crashing, the car market is taking a nosedive, stocks are not performing well without the continued buying from the Fed, companies continue to lay off thousands, inflation is through the roof, and banks are having liquidity issues, meaning that banks are having a difficult time meeting their financial obligations as they come due. This includes being able to quickly convert assets into cash to meet short-term demands for withdrawals or payments. A bank with high liquidity can meet these demands without incurring large losses, while a bank with low liquidity may struggle to do so and may even become insolvent. Banks are having a liquidity problem because people realize what is happening and are withdrawing their money. Go try to take out a few $1,000s from your account and see how that goes. The way the fractional banking system works is that banks hold reserves that are only a fraction of the amount of deposits they have on hand. This means that banks can lend out more money than they have on hand as cash. Banks are required to hold a certain percentage of deposits in reserve, usually determined by the central bank. The reserve requirements are typically a small fraction of the deposits, such as 10%. That means that banks with $100 in reserves can lend out $900 to customers. This allows for the expansion of the money supply and can help promote economic growth, but it also increases the risk of bank runs, as many depositors may try to withdraw their money at the same time. In such a case, if not enough reserves are on hand, the bank may become insolvent. Unfortunately, people have no ability to save money in this environment. In fact, they are living off their credit cards, as seen by the record levels of debt being added to households. Please understand what is happening. We are in a slow-motion train wreck, and you need to take steps to weather the storm. This is not financial advice, but I can only say what I am doing, and that is taking money out of the bank to have some cash on hand should there be a bank run, putting away some extra food and water, and where possible, as funds allow, buying some silver to put away, because when this economy unhinges, gold and silver will skyrocket in value. Well, thanks for listening. If you found value in this report, please give me a thumbs up, and if you are able, please visit my affiliate link to help this channel. Until next time, this is the Rudick Report.